welcome to Huckleberries. Today I'm going to show you, we're going to do a short video, a series of 3 videos will come out. This is a zoology quilt that I designed using a panel which has all the animals on it. And so today I'm going to show you how we flange the blocks. And then another video, here's a second part of the quilt, are these squares here, and they're made from charm packs. So for the quilt, you need the 2 charm packs in the zoology line. So we've got 4 bundles that are, or 3 bundles, sorry, there's one not there. No, we've got 4. 4 of these that you can come in and pick up, and they're together. So 2 charm packs and the panel. And then you'll need a background and a couple of coordinates, which are in this block. So we've got, these are from your charm squares. And then the last ones, when you see this border, and they're actually in between a few of them, these are the quarter squares that were made using the slotted trim ruler. So that will be a 3rd video. So today what we're going to show you is taking a look at the flange, the pop of color that is around each of the panels, just to pop them out against the border that was put around the block. So here is our panel. So that's what your panel looks like. So I do have instructions here that tell you what size to cut these to and the border sizes. So once you've cut them out, that's when you're going to be able to add your flange. So you cut them as directed by the pattern. Okay. And I'm going to use just this little piece of fabric as my sample to show you. What I like to do, and this is just something I've come up with, if you take a look, I don't know, at the back, you can see I put 1/4-inch strips of just a fusible interfacing, and that can be any interfacing you've got at home. That can be a lightweight, medium weight. I actually think I even have different, I've got Shape Flex, and I just have little Ziploc bags, and I cut them up into 1/4-inch strips. So I can tell this one is Shape Flex, softer, and so the Shape Flex, and it doesn't matter what length you've got, because what you can do when you're putting these down is you can press it and trim it, and then you're going to do the same thing, just continue around, okay? And you just want it doesn't have to be perfect, just using it to stabilize when we do the basting of our flange. Okay, so that's the first step that I do, our 1/4-inch strips. And I've got 2 different bags there. There was 2 different ones. I can tell this one is Decor Bond, actually. I don't know if you can see the shine. And that's quite a stiff interfacing, but it works fine. And it stays in, and I don't mind that staying in. So the next step is your flange. And these were the 2 colors I actually used in the panel. And I've got options. I can cut, these are 3/4-inch strips that I used in the one that you saw earlier in the video. That is going to give you 1/8 of an inch or so, depending on your sewing. Now you can do them with your scraps, because you can just fold them in half. Like if you've got little pieces like this, you're just going to be pressing them in half, right sides together. Because on something like this, look, I don't need to have a long piece. So it's a great way to use up your little bits. So I do have a container of flange bits. 3/4-inch strips is what I like to use for the most part, but I'm going to show you what other ones would look like. So now, option here, if I put this on the mat, I can see this is about 4 1/4 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 1/4. So if I wanted, I could cut 2 that were 4 1/4, 2 that were 6 1/4, or I could just work with a long strip. So up to you. And if I worked with a long strip, I'm actually going to put it down like this, and I'm going to sew 1/8 of an inch away with a long basting stitch. And I have, oops, so you can see it on this one. So there's my basting stitch, okay, along here. I've got a border added on just to show you what that would look like once it's flanged. So when I flange them, you can go in any order. I could do the top and the bottom, or I can go around clockwise or counterclockwise, it doesn't matter. So if I'm not measuring, I'm just going to stitch it down, and then I'm going to cut it even with that one, and then that end will start here. And I would do the same thing there, and I could go all the way around. If I'm doing multiple blocks, what I'll sometimes do is I will do just this block here, and then I'll put the other piece under here without stopping. I'll kind of chain them, just a little bit of a gap, and then I'll clip them all, and then I'll do the other side, and I'll continue around, because there's quilts where I've done several blocks, and that's the way I would do it. Okay, so you're just going to stitch them down. This doesn't change the dimensions of your block. It's going to keep it exactly the same because we are running this flush to the edge of the block, and your folded edge is in, okay, because that's the part that's going to be. And see the selvage? You wouldn't want to do that. You would actually always want to make sure you've got the full, like that, and then that gets trimmed off. Okay, so that doesn't change the dimension of my block, and it doesn't matter what block size you work with. Then your borders go on, and now I do my 1/4 inch, which now covers my 1/8 of an inch, and I can. So that's what you're going to see when you do a 3/4 inch one. Okay, so I've got a block here. So this one here, see, these are all my scraps left over from another quilt. That one was actually starting, it's a little bit more showing. That was 1 inch strips going all the way around. Okay, and you know what? I'm just going to show you, I lied. I actually used the 1 inch one in the zoology one as well. So I did this as a 1 inch. So what happens with the 1 inch, if you want to figure out how much you would see, so 1 inch folded in half is now 1/2 inch, and then a 1/4 inch is taken away from my seam, so a 1/4 inch will show. On this one, that's why we only have 3/4 inch folded in half gives you 3/8. Mine is a 1/4 gives you 1/8. So you've got that much less. You can see the difference between what you see there. And then this one here, I went 1.5 inches. So that's what the 1.5 inch strip. So 1.5 folded in half is 3/4. Mine is a 1/4. You should have a 1/2 inch showing. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the border strip on top to show you what it would look like. So you would have that much showing. So you could go really wide. I had done projects earlier when I was learning to quilt that had like 2 inch ones that were folded in half. So you get more of a lip. You can see how that, so when you're quilting, that could be an issue for some people. So that's just something to note. If you're going over top of that, that might be something that gets in the way, or if there's a long arm quilter involved. These lips, I find, they're fine. And I actually often go in the ditch around these. And then quilting, I sometimes will just peel them back if I need to get underneath them, just so I don't catch them, and then they fold right back down. So that is how we do flanges, okay? So hopefully you'll use that on other projects. I've used it on lots of things, as most of you know who know me. I've done runners. Anytime you need to add a color to break up 2 colors. So if you find that your border is just flat against something, just add a flange, and you won't have to add any extra fabric or dimensions to your quilt, but you can still add that pop of color. And you can add it to binding as well, which looks fantastic. So enjoy making the flanges, and we'll see you next time when we do the charm square blocks.